Yo, I'm Ash. I'm here to ramble about video games. Yeah. When you get down to it, quality of life is kind of a funny topic in video games. Generally, it's used to refer to a feature that makes life better for the player. Whether it's fast traveling to make it easier for the player to get around, or rewinds that allow the player to make up for mistakes. These are usually features that are meant to reduce the friction a player encounters when playing a game, making it easier for them to do the things that they want to do. Hence, we tend to call them quality of life features. It is a bit funny though, because to some extent, most games are there to present a challenge or obstacle that the player is meant to overcome. So, where exactly is the line between circumventing the game design and enhancing the overall experience? Well, it's not really always that clear cut. First up, let's talk about maybe one of the most ubiquitous elements in games with an explorable world, and that is fast travel. The ability to go from point A to point B with only a quick loading screen. Now, fast travel comes in a lot of flavors. Sometimes you can travel at any time to almost any point. Other times it's a strictly point to point affair. You can have lots of fast travel points or very few, and you can have fast travel that is free or it is costly. One thing is for sure though, it's super nice to warp to where you need to go all quick and easy, right? Right? Well, let's dig into that for a sec. While fast travel may seem appealing on a surface level, right? I mean, why would you want to spend more time just traveling? But it's maybe not quite as straightforward as that. After all, what are you skipping by fast traveling? Well, you're skipping out on experiencing the world. So, to some extent, this quality of life feature is solving a problem that the game itself has created. Now, this isn't really always a problem, but sometimes the issues can become pretty glaring. I mean, let's look at Starfield. A big sell for that game was its myriad explorable environments and worlds, but in practice, fast travel undermines a lot of that experience. Entire facets of the gameplay can be completely ignored if you're just fast traveling all over the place. Hell, you can basically completely skip flying your spaceship around if you fast travel too much, which is crazy because this is such a huge element of the game's design. A whole mechanic that can just be left in the dust by a quality of life feature. That's cowardice. I mean, just look at the clip right now. This is the same trip, but one is just skipped completely, and the other has well, I wouldn't call it thrilling because I'm not a great pilot, but space combat, actual, gameplay. And I know, you might be about to say, oh, but Ash. Nah, sorry, miss me with that one. I think it's the responsibility of the game design to be at its most compelling without the player needing to impose arbitrary restrictions on themselves. Anyway, I know Starfield has lots of other problems, so let's look at something like Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild. The experience of exploring the world plays a huge role in both of these games, and both of these games have a massive world. Having to backtrack constantly definitely does not sound super fun to me. That said, I do think that being able to freely zip around the many, many fast travel points in both of these games can really hurt the player's experience a bit. Anecdotally, and honestly, this may have been a skill issue on my part, but I definitely burnt out a bit on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom after it. And I think a part of that came from the fast travel slash shrine system. I mean, don't get me wrong, I adored the shrine puzzles, but I think I sort of just locked in on shrines and fast travel points in general and missed out on the world they lived in. I fared a lot better in Elden Ring, but I'm not prepared to dive into all the details on what made those experiences so different just yet. I think a part of that might be because Elden Ring is more practically linear, and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom both have you crisscrossing across Hyrule, but it's a story for another time. Now, to be clear, I'm not trying to say that fast travel is a crippling weakness in Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring or anything. Frankly, it's hard to imagine them without fast travel. But in all of these examples, what is the actual problem that fast travel is addressing? Is it that the world becomes less fun to navigate as you progress? Does the game become tedious if you don't have access to fast travel? If that's the case, then is fast travel really the best solution to that? It seems to me that it might really be more of a band-aid to a more fundamental weakness in the game's design. All that is to say that, yeah, quality of life is great, but when these mechanics are introduced with too much flexibility, they can become more of a band-aid that really only covers up potential flaws in the game's design. Many of the problems that are addressed with these features can be more appropriately addressed with more engaging mechanic design. And this leads pretty well to the next point, in that restrictions and limitations and how players can approach them create really interesting and compelling choice dynamics, and this can be hurt with a little too much quality of life. There's a lot of great examples we could look at for this, but first let's look at Dragon's Dogma 2, the game that's on screen right now. This game is largely very willing to tell the player, yo, I'm gonna really inconvenience you and throw some shit at you that you don't have a perfect solution to. Good luck. And I think that's so awesome. This game does a lot of things that at first seem like really petty inconveniences. Things like the Dragon's Plague or the Elvish Village, some pretty brutal weight restrictions, and even the potential for important NPCs to die. But first, let's stick to fast travel. Fast travel in Dragon's Dogma 2 is limited in use by a consumable called a fairy stone, and very limited in location. You can have ox carts at specific spots or port stones at very specific spots, but overall, it's very scarce. Hell, if you look up Dragon's Dogma 2 fast travel on Google, the first thing you will see, the very first link is going to be people on Reddit complaining about how difficult fast travel is to do. Now, yeah, on a surface level, this may seem incredibly annoying, but in practice, what this really does is just change the way you have to approach the game. It makes the decision making about when you are going to go where and do what way more interesting. Rather than let it be a nuisance, you just have to change your mindset a little, engage with the mechanics as the game is asking you to. So many of them play strongly into the way travel and exploration pan out. These weight restrictions, the way your maximum health will decrease if you don't rest, and the potential to stumble upon challenging encounters at any moment all add up to make the act of traveling from point A to point B not just an inconvenience, but a wholly developed facet of the gameplay. Now, fast travel does become more accessible as you progress through the game. As you collect more items and unlock new ox cart paths and whatnot, the challenges presented by travel wane a little as you become stronger and bulk up with strange supplements, also known as gold beetles. This is kind of to be expected, however, as progression is a pretty natural aspect of any game. So yeah, basically, I think it's important that we don't look at every bit of adversity that a game throws at you as a quality of life problem. No one is complaining that Tetris doesn't let you mirror your pieces when you get the wrong L shape, because that inconvenience is a deliberate choice, and that's what makes Tetris the greatest game in the world. And admittedly, fast travel isn't really a crippling flaw most of the time, unless your name is Starfield. Another example I like to point out for this is rewind mechanics, but honestly, I'm going to save that whole argument for another time. Anyways, thank you all for listening to me ramble. Hope you enjoyed it somehow. If you have thoughts on quality of life, hit me with them in the comments. I adore hearing how other people think and feel about these things. And if you have thoughts about how terrible this video was, hit me with those too. We out here trying and learning new things, so your feedback will be treasured. And finally, if you really like what I do, first, why? But second, consider hitting that like button and follow me here or wherever, I guess, except my home. Anyway, stay tuned because for better or worse, I have some more projects coming.